Hey guys, welcome to the Heart of David. Hope you guys are doing well today. I have a few topics, maybe more than a few topics today, and I'll just mention what those are, and then I'll get right into them. Many will be offended. So anyways, that's one topic, and I think there's maybe more than one way that you could look at this, and I think they both apply. I wanted to also talk about betrayal and friends, and one of the reasons I watch chosen videos, I mean people who are truly born again. I don't use the title chosen ones, but I understand what they mean. I understand what type of life they've been through, all the letdowns, all the betrayals, that type of stuff. I'm going to talk about that. I'm also going to talk about who are my brothers and my sisters, and I think, so I'll just read that scripture, and that has to do with the last one I talked about there. And then I'm going to talk about, and I've said this in my videos, okay? I believe that the way it was intended from the original church, you know, how Jesus sent people out, or, you know, like in Acts, right? It was never about making any money. It was never about making any money. I know that's the truth. I do believe pastors should make a living because I understand the stresses that they must deal with. I understand that. It's a very demanding job and stuff, but those are pastors. Now, when I look at, so I don't want to get into it deeply right now, but I'm going to show you a verse that I found that finally solves it for me. The other ones were, this is my belief, you can put whatever you want in the comments, it's not going to change my mind. I've had enough of, this is a reason that Jesus turned over my house will be a house of prayer. It's not going to be about money, it's not going to be about your bank accounts. That makes me sick. It really does. So I'm going to read you a chapter that says that the workers are worthy of their wages, and what that really means. So, and to answer your comment from that last video I posted, I didn't mean to post it to this channel. I went out on my motorcycle, just went on some back roads, and taped that. My helmet, the way my helmet is, it's shaped around the piece that I had to stick on. It wouldn't allow me to have it straight like that. You're on a street bike, you're not up like an enduro type bike, hybrid. When I went to my motorcycle training course, I was on a dirt bike and it was more up, and I felt better on that. So on a street bike, you're like over like this. You have to be over like that. And yeah, so to answer the question is, I can't really afford a car. With inflation and it's crazy where I live. The insurance rates are insane. I got a good insurance rate for my bike only because I did everything right. You know, like my credit's good, all that type of stuff was good, and I did that course. But to fill up my tank to go to the gas station, it was like $10. I can go like 350 to 400 kilometers just on $10. So yeah, I can't ride it for 5 months of the year or whatever, but that's good. I'll stay in shape in that time, and I still do anyways. But and you got to be in shape to be on one of those. So yeah, just thinking about the maintenance of your car, and if it breaks down, all that type of stuff. And I was of the mind, I'm working towards, I'm going to university because I don't want to become any dependent. I don't want to become any dependent on the system and on my parents, my dad. And my dad does help me. I don't want to be, and that's what I'm working towards, to become an addictions counselor. So it's very expensive. I don't know, it's probably a lot more expensive than most places in the world, and for my motorcycle, it's the most expensive place in all the world. You can look that up. Ontario. So just give me a little break here for a second and I'll get into that. Many will be offended. I didn't buy that bike for midlife crisis reasons, like other people do. Certainly fun riding it, but long rides would hurt my back, but I can go 15 or 20 kilometers, which is what I bought it for, and not hurt my back. So thanks for the question, though. I'm not going to go over the verse. I'm sure you all know it. In Matthew 24, it says, many will be offended. And without doing a whole exegesis of it and interpretation, whatever, what does that mean? Well, if you look everything around it, it's talking about the end times. And I can't think of another time in history. Can you think of another time in history where I think it could be two-pronged. I think it could be both offended at Jesus' name and just offended in general. And the fact is we are seeing both. So we know what Jesus prophesied, he's God, was of course correct. So let's first just look at all the churches out there that are falling away. They don't even talk about Jesus' name because people will be offended. Think about that. That's horrendous. You look at the Pope. If people see Pope Francis, just think about this. Take this in. If he mentions the word the Lord or Jesus, people go nuts. They should be talking about Jesus Christ all the time. And that's the difference between people who are chosen by God and people who are not. And whoever Christ chooses to save and whatever, I don't know, one of the reasons I don't, with chosen ones, God chooses people. He does. You can see it throughout the Bible, but you can also see he wishes people to be saved. He wishes all people to be saved. So I do think it does come down to a choice, but he makes that final move. You can make that choice, but he may not, depending on what your faith and belief really is. He draws near to you, right? That's the way it works. Remember, he can see the end from the beginning, so he already knows what choices he let us play. He gave us free will, so he knows whatever X person is going to do in 10 years from now, what his choice is going to be, and what God is going to do about it, all the things he's going to send in his way. It's too difficult to talk about. Many will be offended. Just think of all the churches. There's more churches than not that just mean nothing. They're just gathering places, and they're becoming all woke and politically correct. And if you try to correct them, right? If you try to, whatever, rebuke, correct, they become offended, really, really offended. And they'll just kick you out. And it's the same with people, like just in general, talking about Jesus. People become very offended at his name. It's not even an argument. It's worse than it's ever been. It's worse than it's ever been. Why is that? I believe it's because of all the life-changing devices, not good life-changing. It's because all the devices, all the video games, all the porn, all that, we're past Sodom. We can have our phone. I could be looking at porn while I'm doing this video. How do you know I'm not, right? It's that easy. All these things are distractions. I don't know why I just said that, but you can look a lot of things that we see these days. I don't know if you're a Christian. You see on videos, and you see a lot of people becoming offended at the name of Christ. So we know that is happening, and I'm old enough to remember that wasn't the case, where if you mentioned his name, it didn't matter. I'm not saying all the time, but it's not like now. So that has come to pass. So there's that one. That one has come to pass. And we'll continue all the way to the end. Now, on the other flip of the coin, could be a double fulfillment type thing. Because we have these electronic devices, because the world is so connected, prince of the power of the air, right? It's like globalism. It's in a sense, right, the Tower of Babel. I just remember, what would it be? It'd be 2018 or 2019 that you started to hear about things being canceled. It's like television shows. I just remember here, where I live in Ontario, so we're big about hockey here. Best hockey nation in the world. And if you don't agree with that and say, well, we beat you in Worlds or we beat you in this or that, it's because we don't put our best players in because they protect them. In the NHL. Like in the Olympics. But I remember Don Cherry, if you know who Don Cherry is. I just remember everyone became offended because he said, you people. He was talking about having respect for our country or something like that. And he was a voice of hockey, like the voice of hockey for so long. And they booted him off the CBC, of course, right? They're woke. But stuff like that. And I just remember like songs being canceled. Remember, it became so many canceled things. It became cancel culture that when they got to Joe Rogan, they couldn't cancel him. They were trying to cancel every single voice. This is a sign of the end. Many will be offended. Now you can look at that verse and make whatever you want of it. You can say, well, no, it has to do with the Christian life. But I don't think so. I think it's probably both. And the reason why, and if you say no, it would be quite a coincidence, because we shall know the times and the seasons, right? The epochs. And it's here. It's all here. Other people just don't see this. That's okay. And that's another thing I'm going to talk about. But since all those other things are here, and that has come true, then we know it's true. So it's double on that, I think. Just think of all the things in the U.S. and in Canada. It was all over the world. Remember BLM? They were like tearing down statues. They were taking down very important things because they were offended. Think of the university campuses right now, and they've been since October 7th. That's just brutal. My stomach. If you want, put in the comment section and add how else do you think people have become offended. There are so many different things, and when you own things like, like the Elon Musk buying back Twitter and all that, I don't know what to think about that, but it really was a place to silence people. I don't really like talking about people like Elon Musk and that, because you don't really know the truth to these things, and they're just worldly to me. But we have to deal with them, and we have to also look at things. I believe I saw a video yesterday, and it was like, as a Christian, do you think it's important that should we just live our lives and not listen to the news at all? Sure, you could go do that, but I don't think that's the way it was all throughout history. Sorry about my throat there. I don't think that's the way it was all throughout history. People always wanted to know what was going on, but now it's extra difficult. It's a lot more difficult because it's so easy to get lost in it. But I believe it is important to stay. Like, I won't watch things in depth unless it's like a Christian channel. I'll just look at headlines. I'll just look at the headline. That's it. And then I know enough. And if it's important enough, then I'll go in and read it. But okay, so I'm going to get into my next topic because this is getting actually pretty tough for me. And then I'll do the Bible verses at the end. I have a lot of trouble in my throat, stomach, all of that. Still trying to figure out what some things are. Yeah. All right, so I had a difficulty with somebody the other day, and I don't usually have difficulty with people at all. It just doesn't really happen all that often. Like, disagreements turn into debates, turn into arguments, whatever. I don't try to get into debates with people at all. But when you start talking about one thing and it leads to another. Anyways, it ended up in a little bit of a debate, and then it got out of control because the person was offended. That's all I'm going to say. And it made me realize that what I was talking about was so unoffensive. And it made me think about something. It just made me think about my life. I like being alone. Okay, when they talk about isolation and all that stuff? I'm going to go deep. I know that God put me alone. Why did he leave me alone? And it was in very trying circumstances. Like the worst circumstances you can think of. Thank God I had a place, but when I moved in here, I was very sick. It was to find out who I was and what I could do. And I found out I had many gifts and talents that I never knew I had. But I guess you just call it isolation. To think about, for me to think about what happened in my life, who I am, what I stand for. I lost a lot of that personally myself. Why? Because I couldn't walk for 10 years. I came from a life of addiction, both to alcohol and drugs. I was really addicted to drugs, pills. I was a pill popper. Benzodiazepines, a lot of them. But he saved me out of that. And so I'd lost myself, pretty much. And then I was just so enveloped with pain and all that. But I came in here, and I think it was to find out who I was and to put me in a proper direction. Studying the Bible for, a number of years now. To put me in a proper position to, anyways, this is about, I'm just giving you an idea of why I watch these chosen one videos. And of course, a lot of them are just nonsense. They don't even believe in God, and watch out for those ones. They're talking about things like starseed and whatever it is. So when I had this, it was an argument the other day, and it was very short. There was a lot of temper in it, and I am sorry that it happened, but I'm not sorry for what I said, in that the person became offended. And anyways, it made me realize why I'm alone, and the things that had happened in my life, who I am now. What did I do wrong? Did I do anything wrong? I'm having a lot of trouble with my stomach, so pardon me. I was a troubled person, and I wasn't diagnosed with autism, which was a difficult thing. I didn't know. I displayed all the signs, but that doesn't matter. I'm just giving you that my life was a bit different, so it was very difficult for me. I did have friends, and I was a troubled child, and because I probably should have ended up in jail. I should have. I was going right into what you would call conduct disorder. And it was because I was rebelling, because I didn't have a proper outlet that I knew. I just wasn't, I couldn't perform in class. It was really difficult for me because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know, not knowing I had autism, it was a big deal. And knowing I do really helped me out, thanks to God. I don't think I'm that much different than what they say call a neurotypical person. I don't think I'm that much different. So I had friends besides those things that I was doing with addiction, because in addiction, in drinking alcohol, you can look at a person and say, he's got this psychiatric disorder, or he's untrustworthy. You can't really tell if they're really like that without those drugs, without alcohol especially. I was lying to people and doing stuff like that, but that's what people with addiction do. So once that addiction is gone, what is that person like? And that's what God showed me, what I was. So all the things that people had said about me weren't true. So I'm trying to differentiate to show you that those things don't matter. If I say this, say one of my friends watch this video from my past, they'll say, well, you did this and that, but what I did was likely associated with alcohol and drugs, unfortunately. So I'm tearing this apart. I find that I was always a truthful person, and it wasn't hard to get along with me. Um, if anyone ever needed help, I would help them. That type of thing. Deceiving on purpose never, ever came to my mind. Those types of things never came to my mind. It could be autism, but I understand also from another perspective that when I grew up, I didn't feel like other people. I watched other people, the way they played, the way they got together and talked to each other, and I didn't fit in. I never fit in that way. I never liked like rough people. I just never, that just turned me off, as the Bible says, turning away from the shedding of blood, right? I never liked violence, never liked that type of stuff. I tried to hang around good people, right? And they all let me down. Every one of them. Every single one of them. Well, there may be one or two who didn't let me down, but still, in other capacities, they were just like, I'm just wondering if the same thing happened to you. I got betrayed many different times, and I forgave. Like horrible things. I was never that person who would speak behind other people's back. It doesn't mean I didn't engage in gossip, but if it was like hearing about someone else. I didn't talk about people behind their back like that. I just was never that type of person. And when I saw such things, I didn't like it. I never understood it. Pardon me, I'm gonna pace. Never say to yourself, okay, so I'm in my mid-40s, okay? Never say to yourself, oh, this person will never, we'll always be friends or stuff like that. Never say that to yourself. I have been so surprised by who I thought was on my side, but they are not on my side. When I moved out here, my friend helped move me in here, okay, which was a good thing to do. And I always thought this was a good friend. And then all of a sudden, it was like just one day, just like cut off, not talking to me anymore. If I messaged them, it was just gone. It's like, what did I do? Those types of people are not worth your time. If anyone does that type of stuff to you, listen, this is why we have to build our discernment. And it brings me to, so is that you? Did you go through a whole bunch of betrayals, but you feel like you're always the person? Like, here, this is what it is. It's very, very hard for me to trust somebody, okay? And then there was that narcissist, that woman. You think you know someone. And I believe God sent me that narcissist to show me who I was, and did. And also, I'm so thankful that I'm not speaking to that person any longer, because of that I got all my pain diagnosis, my autism diagnosis, my throat diagnosis, and I started doing well without them. Why? Because God isolated me. And as long as I had faith in God, God just kept allowing me to do the things I wanted in my life. Yeah, so I have a very hard time trusting people. I always felt like I was that type of person who, I'm not going to talk behind your back. I'm not going to let you down. And if you need help, I'm going to be there. If I give you a promise, I'm going to keep it. Good luck finding those types of people today. I'm not speaking anything good about myself. That's not what I'm saying. But I am from God. It's hard to find those types of people, isn't it? These days. It's like in the time of Lot, isn't it? So we got to pace again. I'm going to read you something. I've been fighting a kidney stone. I'm always in some level of fighting that, but sometimes they're much tougher than others. Give me a sec. If somebody just decides that you're no longer good in their life anymore, I'm not saying don't forgive them, but what I'm saying is they're not worthy. They're not worthy, and they'll never be worthy. I mean, unless they come to Christ and realize all these things, but we're supposed to forgive infinitely. 70 times 7. No, that just really means all the time. But that doesn't mean that, it's always good to forgive. It doesn't mean you have to associate with them. So this surprises the Catholics. Of course this one would. Matthew 12:46. While he was still talking to the multitudes, behold, his mother, so Mary, and brothers stood outside, which would have included James too, seeking to speak to him. Then one said to him, look, your mother and your brothers are standing outside to speak with you. The Catholics try to say it's just, brothers, but the next verse proves that it isn't. Like brothers, like, hey, brother. But he answered and said to the one who told him, who is my mother and who are my brothers? And he stretched out his hand towards his disciples and said, here are my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother and sister and mother. So just because they're your family, just because there it is, just because they're their family, just because they're your friends for whatever amount of years, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. These people can turn on you. And that's why I watch those types of videos, because they went through all that, just like I did. Isn't it something? Like, I don't know if you saw my other video about me going through my MSF, my motorcycle safety course. I knew, once I made a comment, when I said the Most High God, and then people there around me looked, I could just tell the demeanor of a person in my class. He may be watching this video because I showed it that I do these videos, but it may have not turned out that way. But my feeling inside was, this guy's born again. I can just tell. I'm watching him talk to someone else. I can just tell, and I could also tell by the way he responded to what I said, the Most High God. And it turned out I was right. And that's the last time I talked to someone who I knew was truly born again. And you could just tell. I read that for a reason, because even your own family, even your own friends, you feel like you don't even know them. Like, you can't talk to them. They become offended at the truth. But it's so amazing to be around someone, say you haven't been around people in a long time, you come across someone who is born again, and they want to talk about God. People don't want to talk about God. They don't want to talk about this going to heaven because they don't understand, because it says they don't have eyes to see and ears to hear. It's too bad, isn't it? That's what I have to say about that. And so I'm going to read you Luke 10. What I said I was going to... I guess I should finish that off by saying you have to build your discernment to learn who is good and who is not in your life. And I know people can be in tough situations. You may be in a narcissistic family and you can't, this is your environment and stuff. And I pray for you that God will take you away. You know, like my life, it wasn't in my time, it was in God's time. Why did I have to suffer so much, physically and mentally? And betrayals and all this type of stuff. And I've learned who is good for me and who is not. You got to have that wise discernment. You have, I'm going to say, if you want good discernment, read the Bible, the New Testament. I'll read also the Old, of course. But for discernment wise, I think the New Testament is the best. You know, Paul's epistles. And you know what else? I find it extremely difficult to meet up with people, to see, I prefer to go because of my abdominal pain and because of all that type of stuff. It's just difficult for me to talk in one spot, right? Person's in front of me, it's very difficult. I'm like moving back and forth. I'm like, hey, you want to have a good talk? Let's go for a walk and it'll be good. When I go, sometimes, a lot of times, I have to, you know, I don't want to be the person who's always bringing up the, I want to be an active listener and listen to other people, right? And have a good conversation. It can be very difficult, even with family, because the things they're talking about have nothing to do with God. It's hard. It is. You just want to explode. You want to talk about it, but yeah. So I'm gonna pace a little bit here, guys, and I'm gonna read this. Yeah, I'll talk about this for a tiny bit here. One of the keys to staying well for me with the, like, you know, like a back that's still out, it's trying to heal, but all these other pains like abdominal pain and all that, one of the keys to my success besides God is move here, move there. You know, if I'm going to read, I'll read for like 15 minutes, make sure you move, do something else, wrap that up. You know, this food, this is the way I do. Like, I'm moving a lot. Okay, so I know a lot of people also feel this way. That when you go to a Christian YouTube channel, it might be a good one, and you look in the description box, or they say it out loud, like support me, and Cash App, and Venmo, and all these things, PayPal. You know, as Paul says, I don't use that right. It wasn't about money, okay? That's why I don't think it was, well, I think there probably was some money, but it wasn't for personal gain. It was never for personal gain. Because Paul said, I never wanted to hinder the gospel of Christ, because it's supposed to be about Christ. So let's read Luke 10. I read this, I'm like, okay, this is the verse that proves it. And in my investigation, should people be getting money for preaching and doing all Christian videos and stuff like this? it said that it was for, in the Bible, what they are pertaining to is traveling preachers. And then I just came across Luke 10 today, because that's where I'm on, because I'm studying the Gospels again. So, Luke 10. After these things, the Lord appointed 70 others also, and sent them 2 by 2 before his face into every city and place where he himself was about to go. Then he said to them, the harvest truly is great, but the laborers are few. Therefore pray... So much better. Therefore pray the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. Go your way, behold, I send you out as lambs among wolves. Carry neither money bag, knapsack, sandals, and greet no one along the road. But whatever house you enter, first say, peace to this house. And if a son of peace is there, your peace will rest on it. If not, it will return to you. And remain in the same house, eating and drinking such things as... Luke 10, verse 7. And remain in the same house, eating and drinking such things as they give. That's the answer. That is the answer. The wages of a traveling preacher will be housing. They'll give you somewhere to stay. I'll just read the rest. Remain in the same house, eating and drinking such things as they give. For the laborer is worthy of his wages. So there it is. You know, you may say, well, what if they give them money? Well, it's not for your personal bank account. It's to further the gospel. So there's nothing I like more than purity. Nothing. Because it's the way to live. It's the way. That's why God is holy. And that's why we're supposed to become like Jesus Christ. Because that will keep our spirits clean. And we don't have to feel shame in our life for anything. Someone can judge me, but I don't care if you judge me. Just like Paul says, I don't even judge myself. Let Christ judge me. So there it is. I believe that is. These are traveling preachers. So if anything resonates with you in this video, let me know. I wish I could go deeper into the ways, you know, of being betrayed and always, you know, like, I always kind of felt alone. I felt like people, you might say that's autism, but no, I think it was kind of different. It was the same in my family. I love my family, but I was just different than other people. And I just think that was the way it was always meant to be. I have no ill will towards people. You know, even people who have hurt me. I'm not talking about a narcissist. But, you know, like, if they asked for help, I would help them, you know. So... And by the way, be careful of this forgiveness thing with narcissists. If they have hurt you, forgive them for yourself, not... You know what I mean. You have to forgive, but it has to be real forgiveness, because that's the way the Father will forgive you. God bless. I've prayed for you all already.